2020 was definitely a down year for coaster enthusiasts. A lot of plans canceled, coasters not ridden, new credits not earned, but I think everyone managed to salvage as much as they could from the chaos that was 2020. I myself revived my interest in coasters and came to be a full enthusiast, all because of a simple YouTube search and an eventual visit to Silverwood. I rode a total of 11 coasters last season, many of which were new credits, though I honestly consider all the coasters from Lagoon as new credits since it was around 8 years ago the last I was there. Anyways, I decided I would rank every one of them, so let's start. So my number 11 is the Bat at Lagoon. This is the classic Vekoma Hang and Bang family coaster. It's a headbanger and it's got terrible capacity and ops. It does have a decent layout for a family coaster, but that's about all it has going for it. I wish Lagoon would get Vekoma to at least give them new trains. I know the newer Vekoma family coasters seem much better than this. Next up is Wild Mouse at Lagoon, taking the number 10 spot. It's a wild mouse. Heavy laterals, jerky turns and hills, and not really any airtime. I'd definitely ride it more than the Bat, but I wouldn't go seek it out. But it is a decent enough addition to the park, so it gets points for that. We stick around Lagoon for my number 9 coaster, Bombora. Bombora is a family coaster, and it's one of the best. Now, before you get all mad at me, it sits lower only because it's not a thrilling coaster. But as far as milder rides go, this is phenomenal. And that Helix after the hill is actually a little more intense than I expected, so good job, Bombora, you did well. At number 8 is Spider, once again at Lagoon. Spider is a mower spinning coaster that some would consider more a family attraction, but I really wouldn't. It's crazy, out of control, and so much fun. The spinning is really good, and it whips around the layout in chaos. Not a top tier coaster, but a really good spinner if that's what you're looking for. We finally make it out of Lagoon for my number 7, Tremors at Silverwood. What an overhyped coaster. Don't get me wrong, it's a good ride, but a lot of people call this the best in the park, and I think they're crazy. It's got speed for a decent portion of the ride, but once you hit the turns, this coaster hammers you. It has several rough patches that make it hard to re-ride multiple times. My back was starting to feel it by the end of the day. If RMC or GCI could come in and give it a fix, I think it would be able to jump up my rankings, but currently, it doesn't have what it takes to compete. At number 6, we have Roller Coaster at Lagoon, a classic old Woody that will be celebrating its 100-year birthday this year. It's pretty rough, but that's understandable for its age. Why does it outrank Tremors though? Because it's got airtime, and a lot of it. It's also the most violent airtime I've experienced due to its roughness, but I love it nonetheless. And my ride in October was actually quite smooth, so that moved it up my rankings as well. Glad to see Lagoon is taking care of such an old, historic ride. At number 5 is Corkscrew at Silverwood, the very first successful inverting roller coaster. A prototype by Aerodynamics that originally saw its home at Knott's Berry Farm. It was moved up to Silverwood in 1990 and has operated there since. It's not the smoothest, but it's got a really fun drop. Sitting in the back, you get whipped over that drop with force. It's a lot of fun. And it doesn't seem to get a lot of attention. I was able to re-ride this a lot just because no one really came back to this coaster. It's a lot of fun, and I can't wait to ride it again. My number 4 is Colossus the Fire Dragon at Lagoon. This is such a great ride. Sure, after the loops and first turn it kind of gets a little boring, but the first few seconds are so good. The drop has airtime, which I wasn't expecting, and the loops and the first turn are really intense. I rode this many times, not only because the line was relatively short, but because, dang, that first part is so good. Now we are at my top 3, and taking the third is Wicked. Wicked has such a fantastic layout. Even after the mid-course, it manages to throw some fun in there. But what holds it back are the atrocious restraints. I have long legs, so my feet couldn't even touch the floor of the ride, and my legs felt like they were going to snap in those restraints, which is a shame because the layout is absolutely amazing, especially the zero-G roll and the vertical launch. If Zero could come in and fix the restraints, this would be such a good coaster, but it suffers a bit because of those restraints. I don't mind getting stapled, honestly, but I do mind feeling like I'm going to lose my legs on a ride. Worth it for the layout, though. Stealing the number 2 spot is Timber Tear at Silverwood. Oh boy, this is just straight airtime. This classic out and back by CCI is so much fun, starting with a great drop, then heading into a couple airtime hills, including a double up, taking a lateral filled turn to head back into more airtime before the Helix, into the brake run. It's a basic layout, but it's just so good. It's also smooth, which is why it completely demolishes Tremors in my opinion. Speed, airtime, and an amazing first drop make for a coaster that I would ride all day if I could. I am dying to get back to Silverwood to ride Timber Tear again. It's just that good. And at number one, is it really any surprise? We have Cannibal at Lagoon, an in-house hyper with a top-tier layout, a 116-degree drop from 208 feet, a massive elongated Immelman, a dive loop, and then the signature inversion, the Lagoon Roll. There's nothing quite like Cannibal, and it's a must-ride in my opinion. The snappy dive loop is amazing, and probably my favorite moment on the ride next to the Lagoon Roll. Speaking of the Lagoon Roll, if the drawn out hang time wasn't enough, the moment is made even crazier by this ride only having lap restraints. This coaster shares a lot of similarities in design with Wicked, but improves on all of them. The restraints look very similar, but Cannibal doesn't murder your lower legs. You will get stapled, but this isn't an airtime machine, so that's fine. Just ride on the front outside and you will have the best ride of your life. And that concludes my 2020 rankings. What are some of your top coasters you rode in 2020? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.